Good morning. Hello, everybody. Let me bring Instagram on. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Friday Q&A live edition of our COVID coronavirus global pandemic news update. And I'm answering your questions today. So I'm very excited to have all of you join me today. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that the internet gods are on our side. So last Wednesday, we buffered a little bit, but we are getting some updates in the, I don't know, there's some technical term, but basically we've had a lot of internet issues and those are getting all sorted out this week. So welcome to all of you. It is Friday. Gosh, it's November 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Woo! So I'm going to talk to you a lot about some news regarding the pandemic. I have some studies I'm going to share with you today. And then it is your day where I answer all of your health and wellness questions. So whatever questions you have, please comment in the live chat. And then on Instagram, comment in the box below. And I will make sure I go over those. So the big thing I want to share with you, two things before we go into our news. There is an amazing webinar replay. I'm posting a link down below. I watched it and was just blown away. For any of you who have lung disease, history of lung weakness, or challenges with bronchial infections, upper respiratory infections, pneumonia, maybe COVID, and even post-COVID syndrome, or just looking for ways to improve your lung health, there is an amazing doctor who has put together a lung cleanse protocol, and the webinar, the link is down below. It's totally free, and I think you guys will find this very impactful. Please share that link with anybody you know who can benefit, because lung health is really critical, and we know with coronavirus, the way the virus works, it attacks quite a bit of the tissue in the lungs. The other thing that I want to share with you is that next Thursday, so November 19th, I'm checking my calendar, November 19th, I am partnering up with my friends over at Sovereign Labs, and I'm trying to see if I have any of their other products here. Sovereign Labs is my favorite brand, one of the only brand that has super high quality colostrum and colostrum therapy. We are partnering up, and I will be going live on their Facebook page. So if you are interested in joining live, it's Q&A, but it's really specifically targeted at how to survive the rest of 2020. And it's going to address stress management and, how to deal with anxiety and stress around the virus and the changes in our lives. Brian and Gabriel are coming back, so the dogs usually bark at them for some reason. Unless there's a Verizon or Comcast truck outside. Okay, girls. Okay, so there is, we've got maintenance going on. Okay, so the other thing regarding this Facebook Live, you have to go to their Facebook group. I have a link, or Facebook page. I have a link for the specific event. So click on there and you'll get notified. But this is really interesting. As I'm kind of preparing for this webinar, this is crazy. In the last 16 years, or let me just backtrack. Google searches regarding anxiety have increased, and they've been at their highest rates in the last 16 years. And so everybody is Googling about anxiety. So we're going to talk a lot about that. How do you deal with stress and really survival tips for getting through to the end of the year with the holidays. So do check that out if you love my content. This is going to be a format. I'm not running it, but I'm participating, and it's going to be a conversation between myself and Shelly, who works with Sovereign Labs. So love it. Two mommies are going to be talking about how we survive and giving tips and resources for our participants. Okay, so hopefully the dogs won't interrupt us any further, but I wanted to dig into what's going on here. Worldwide, the world's at 52.7 million cases of coronavirus, and the US is now at 10.6 million. We have posted consecutively the worst and highest COVID days, positive days one day after another. So yesterday, we had 163,409 positive cases. That was more than the day before and then the day before that. The expectation is that today will be worse than that, and Saturday will be worse than that. So more than likely, when I'm reporting to you on Monday, we might have hit 200,000. Who knows? And that is no joking matter, because with the positive cases, there are always going to be fatalities, and we're seeing the fatality rates increasing. We had almost 1,200 fatalities yesterday, one of the highest days thus far. Now our total is at 246,291 Americans died of COVID, and that includes COVID complications, COVID related syndromes, the inflammatory state. You can have a COVID, you can be dealing with COVID and have a heart attack. The heart attack would kill you, but COVID caused the heart attack, the blood clotting and all of that. So just to clarify what might be indicated. The other thing that I want to highlight is that our numbers here from comparing November to September, we are at 3.5 times the quantity of cases that we saw in the low peak. So we have like 3.5x our spike. The US, our average positive percentage rate is 8.7, and that's been the average in the last 7 days. That is not a good positive percentage rate. That is kicking off a whole bunch of issues. 17 states have had the most hospitalizations. They've actually set hospitalization records, and this was gathered on Tuesday. We've also seen across the board, just the numbers of hospitalizations have increased by 50% in just 2 weeks. We are in a crisis mode, and yet we're not acting like it. It is really problematic when we're in this state and we're not seeing some seriousness taken. I want to highlight something that came out in England. So, the UK underwent in October lockdowns, Wales, and then, England specifically, and other areas in the United Kingdom. They have a study that came out by the Imperial College of London, and it's a REACT study, REACT, it stands for specific kind of focus point on looking at the nature of the lockdown and was it effective? And they're still undergoing some lockdowns. But one of the things that they were showing is that at the beginning of the lockdown, 1 in 80 UK citizens was dealing with COVID. That's crazy. And one of the things that was really interesting is, they announce lockdowns days before they take effect so people can prepare themselves. And what they found is that once lockdown was affected, there was a dip, so a decrease. And then within 2 weeks, there was a spike. And what they articulated was that as people were preparing for lockdown, they saw family members, and maybe they went out and did shopping or got their hair done or did things just to kind of prepare themselves. Some of it was more social. Maybe they were more outbound and obviously exposed themselves greater. There's a greater risk of exposure to COVID. That is really fascinating. And, I have had questions from you all. Are we going into lockdown? Who knows? Certain states are dealing with lockdowns or measures taking place right now, but we might see a dip and a spike. So this is kind of an interesting assessment of the kind of impact that a lockdown will have. We see a dip and then a spike, and that spike comes after 2 weeks, around the 2 week mark before that lockdown happens. So I thought that was really interesting. I wanted to report that. The other thing internationally, the president of Ukraine is hospitalized with COVID. And then I want to talk a lot about what's going on here in the US. So now we have 2 states that have topped 1 million cases. California joined Texas. And just to recap, I haven't gone down state by state like I used to. Just the quantity is just so great. And I know you guys were getting kind of bored with that, but I want to kind of highlight where we're at. Top states. Texas is number 1, 1.06 million cases. California just hit 1 million yesterday. Florida, number 3 at 863 positive cases. That doesn't mean these are all active, but that's a total of cases that have been reported by the state agencies. Florida has a skew where they're only reporting those tested in hospitals. So that number, we already know it's been off since, April, May. New York's at 550,000 total cases. Illinois is at 537,000 total cases. Georgia's at 401,000. And Wisconsin has moved up. They're now at 309,000. I want to highlight some things in Texas. They just posted information out of inmates. The inmate population has been heavily hit. I've talked a lot about the different cases where there are clusters of COVID. And this study looks at 80% of these inmates who died of COVID were actually not individuals who were actually convicted of a crime. They were in pre-trial detention. So they were either waiting for an arraignment, they were, in jail for a period of time, waiting to set bail, whatever it might be. But that is really significant. 80% of them had actually not been processed or convicted of a crime. El Paso continues to be the epicenter in Texas of the COVID outbreak. They now have employed a military medical center. That military medical center is now taking non-COVID related patients and treating them. So folks that have a seizure, a heart attack, a car accident, they're now going to the military medical center versus being diverted to the traditional hospitals because the hospitals in El Paso are now COVID specific. The other thing that we've seen, more details on the election party from last Tuesday evening in the White House. It was in, I don't remember what room, but nobody was, very limited. Maybe 0.5% of folks were wearing masks, clustered in with a lot of folks that have had a lot of exposure. That's now becoming another super spreading event, the super spreader election night event. At least 10 now positive cases have come from folks who've been exposed at that event. I do want to highlight some school shutdowns. We are starting to see the beginning of the stay-at-home orders taking effect in certain states in the Midwest. Detroit now they've shut down schools and they've gone virtual only. That is through the 11th of January. So Detroit has completely changed the school process. New York has said they will be preparing for school shutdown in the event that they reach a certain positive percent threshold. On Wednesday, I reported that they were nearing, I think it was 3%, or maybe it was Monday I reported. Yeah, New York was over 2%. So if they grow further, that will be the threshold for New York City schools to go to lock down and go virtual only. Philly has gone virtual only indefinitely. They haven't set an end date on that. Similar with Boston, and then two cities in the Midwest, Des Moines and Iowa City, they have a 2-week lockdown with those schools. And this is some interesting additional news. Hawaii Air now is allowing individuals to use their frequent flyer rewards to cash in. You can cash in your frequent flyer rewards to get a COVID test. I had mentioned a few weeks ago, Hawaii now is requiring mandatory COVID testing for folks to get into the island. So that's kind of interesting. We might see that total change. If you're like me, I have a lot of frequent flyer miles. I have one of those business credit card things that I use. It's always for my miles. The intention was for us to use that on our European trip. That was supposed to be this summer, and hopefully we can roll it into next summer, but I might be cashing in to get COVID tests for that trip. Who knows? But I think that's an interesting kind of change, and that we're probably going to see other airlines follow suit. The other thing I want to mention in the airline industry, and I don't know if you guys can see Daisy's over here. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Come in. Come on. Come on. Oh, Daisy's been a little naughty lately. You want to say hi? She, I announced it on Instagram. She went after a chipmunk, and we're not sure. And somehow she got into my garden, opened the gate, right? So she's a little huntress. Okay. All right. She's sweet. Okay. So Daisy might report the news with us today. So anyway, side note on that, but this is interesting in the airline industry. Globally, they've said that there have been a multitude of connections that might be lost permanently with the change in air travel. A lot of the smaller air connections, we're a hub here in Atlanta. There's a lot of people that fly into Atlanta to go somewhere else. But some of those connections just don't have the quantity of folks to justify flights. So there have been a lot of connections lost in industry globally. Something else I wanted to report, and I'm sure he's going to come up with something because of it, but he's tested positive twice. So he's got a 50% yield where 2 tests have been positive, 2 have been negative, and he is not quite clear if he has COVID or not, but that was released this morning. Something I read yesterday, apparently the cruise industry is starting to get back up to speed. I know I've been monitoring this in Europe, but we have our first cruise ship that was cruising around the Caribbean. And of course, there are now 5 positive COVID cases on that cruise ship. So I just think cruise ships are probably not going to be the best travel method and vacation option. It just is obviously way too risky. It's not safe. Now, something that has been created by one of our schools here in Atlanta, and I forgot to post this. I'll make sure I post it once I wrap this up. But Georgia Tech created this really unique tool online, and it's a calculator that helps you to evaluate your COVID risk. And there's a whole bunch of parameters that they've put in place. One of the things, it also estimates the probability that you might encounter or come in contact with somebody who's positive. This is statistically oriented. The geniuses, the math and science at Georgia Tech have come up with this. And, I've been reporting since I think late March, early April, there has been this kind of risk categorization where, there's a 9 to 0, 9 being the highest. Certain activities just based on proximity, exhalations and sweat and things like that, gyms and churches are highly risk oriented, but they factor in, if you were to say, I'm going to grandma's for Thanksgiving, and then they, might ask you how many people and where it's located, they give you an idea of your risk category. That is obviously, I think, helpful for folks who might be unsure if calling off plans for the holidays, is something that should be in the cards, but they're having a hard time kind of grappling with that. I think also this helps us to understand what all is going on in your area. Like, is it safe to necessarily go grocery shopping, or should you start ordering online again? So I'll post that. I think it's very fascinating. The other thing that is kind of crazy in COVID testing world, apparently there's a black market now. It's primarily focused overseas because we now, we're in lockdown here in the US. We can't really go anywhere. You can't go internationally, can't cross borders. I mean, we've been ostracized based on our COVID situation. But in other countries, there are requirements that people have to test positive before they go into another country. Well, that has yielded a massive black market for negative COVID tests. And we're seeing this globally. Paris and Brazil and other countries have this undercurrent, this black market of folks that are selling negative COVID tests. It's insane, right? Okay, so I do also want to talk about something else going on here in Georgia. It's the Masters weekend. Brian's a huge golfer. His family's really into the Masters. They have season tickets, whatever. But apparently nobody's there in Augusta except for the golfers. But COVID has affected that sport as well. And there are 2 golfers that are not playing. I think one of them won a few years back. But at any rate, that's what's going on here in Georgia. They have a lockdown on, even getting supplies or buying master stuff. So we got our little order in with Brian's dad, and Gabriel's going to have a shirt. So anyway, that's what's going on here in Georgia. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the vaccines and status with some of the vaccines and the antibody medicines. So Pfizer has yet to release, and we haven't seen any clinical data on that first phase with Pfizer, but a volunteer came out and gave some reporting yesterday, I believe, and he talks a little bit about the side effects. So he feels like he wasn't in the placebo. We aren't sure. This is one of those things, like just an interview, but we haven't seen, New England Journal of Medicine pick this up. But one of the things that we're seeing is that he had the 2 doses. The first dose, he felt, a lot of tenderness at this site of the shot. He had fatigue and a headache. And then the second shot was less intense. And the other thing that we're seeing with another vaccine One of the things that I might not have fully reported for you guys, but the FDA authorization, the emergency use authorization with the COVID vaccines, is you actually have to, there's a threshold that has to be met. And this is very random. This is why this just doesn't happen as fast and lightning speed as everybody thinks. There's a threshold that these vaccine trials have to meet. They have placebo, folks who haven't gotten, there's been no vaccine, but they've gotten a shot. So, it's like a sugar shot, whatever. There's the placebo, and then there are the folks that are in the trial who've gotten the vaccine. And they measure, the placebo versus those who've gotten it. These companies and the vaccine trial actually has to meet a threshold for emergency use authorization. They have to have 53 of the patients in their trial, and some are 30, 40, 50,000 individuals in the trial. They have to have 53 that test positive for COVID. And why that's the case is it allows them to look at, how many in the placebo got COVID and how many in the vaccine community got COVID. So Moderna, that trial just announced yesterday, the 53rd person in their trial caught COVID. And that means that they will begin to put together their data that will then be presented for emergency use authorization. And it's very interesting in terms of 53 is not a lot, and more than likely it's a placebo candidate. But again, we don't have these yet released to the journals. And so as soon as we do, I'll be highlighting that. I've been monitoring my email. I get notices now on anything COVID related. But then also, Eli Lilly has a monoclonal antibody. It's a single-use shot. So it's a one-time, it's early on in the staging. That actually had been designated as, they did receive the FDA early use authorization, and that is now hitting the market this week. They expect that it will be distributed today, tomorrow, over the weekend, and it will start to wind its way into the public sphere. Now, this is something that is only for the use of folks who are hospitalized or in a healthcare setting that have COVID. And there's a certain time where they receive that. It's one time, and it's an infusion. So this could be 5, 6, 7 hours of a drip, line into central port or an IV. So that is that's kind of where we're at with the kind of trial state. I did want to kind of highlight that to you guys because I know there's a lot of buzz right now. We don't know a whole lot about Pfizer, and I'm looking forward to hearing and learning more about that. The other thing, I will try and find positive news. And so I want to highlight this for you guys because we're starting to talk about what Christmas looks like for us and, Santa and St. Nicholas. And so I want to end our news detail here with some positive. In Belgium, they celebrate St. Nicholas Day on the 6th of, I think it's the 6th. Yes, the 6th of December. The health minister has officially written a note to St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, saying that he is exempt from COVID rules, particularly the curfew. And he said, this gets me so emotional. It basically says that Santa's an essential worker and that, quote, every child is a hero. And for once, you don't need to check in your big notebook for whether the kids are good this year. And they basically talk about how, the parents are going through a lot. And, our kids are dealing with a lot this year. And so we've been talking about that with Gabriel. And so we're working on something big here, which is really exciting. And I'll share with you guys that on Instagram. At some point, I'm sure in the future, when he's like probably 8 or 10, he'll start watching my videos to see if I give him any clues. And so I'm not going to communicate anything, but there is going to be some really fun Christmas morning stuff that happens here that we are trying to figure out. It happens to kind of correspond with some of his favorite stuffed animals in a live form. So very exciting. And I just wanted to end with that, with the news part, because, it is something where, for children this year is so different. Everything's totally different. And, Christmas can be Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate can be such a great way to bring joy and hopefully an end mark, bookmark, if you will, to 2020 that has been a god-awful year. So anyway, props to the Santa Clauses around the world who are exempt and deemed as essential workers, just like the Easter Bunny and even the Tooth Fairy. So I thought that was a really sweet note. And Sheila is in Belgium, and they are in a 2 to 6 week lockdown. So crazy. And you guys Belgium has had quite a bit of an outbreak. Okay, so I want to answer your questions. We had internet difficulty yesterday and the day before, so I didn't get to post as much as I wanted to, asking questions, but I'll go ahead and answer them here. So let me move this bar over. And definitely you guys on Instagram, go ahead and ask your questions down below and I'll answer them. And I see Michelle, healthy vibes. Yay. She watched the long webinar. Okay. So, hey, I see we've got Darlene and Nadine and Letitia. Good morning, everybody. Jenny from the block. Yeah, it's been a while, Letitia. Welcome back. Okay. So Michael Brown, he's in Missouri from the Show Me State. Okay, so El Precipe, my wife and I are currently dealing with COVID. I'm on day 9, no significant symptoms, only pins and needles feeling, and my body gets warm. Oh, geez. So my wife is 4 months pregnant. She has body aches and headache. It's crazy. More than likely, when the child is born, they will obviously get a COVID test. They've seen some maternal transmission. Okay, let's see. Jenny says, follow my recommendations and lots of prayers for you and your wife and the baby. Okay, Brenda says the Wisconsin school rate is 8.5 with 3% threshold. So they're finally going virtual. So crazy. Yeah, I didn't write Wisconsin down. I mean, Wisconsin is dealing with a lot there. Wooby, the Yorkie, says hi to Daisy. Daisy's such a good girl. She's so naughty. She hunts the little animals in our backyard. And our chipmunks are very happy. I feed them. They have built multiple tunnels. Okay, let's see. Questions. Looks like it's buffering. Yeah, they're apparently the internet. What the maintenance has found, there's 267 units that connect in. Apparently, there's some wiring disconnect. So they have to disconnect all 267. That kicked off, I think, on Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. It's been a battle for years, but now we're getting it fixed. Okay, so Christine, okay, her son, Christine's son had COVID. He was down 2 weeks with COVID, but this is his first week back. He has lots of fatigue. He's working through it. No taste or smell, but so thankful that he can handle work. Still has a cough. Well, that's good. Yeah, the taste and smell is very interesting. Some people it returns, some it's not. It's nerve inflammation, and you have 2 different nerves that are impacting both the nose and the oral assessment of taste. So Ab Reis says, if you've had COVID, how long will the antibodies show up on a test? So clinically speaking, what we know is that anywhere from 2 to 4 months, generally they wane at that 2-month mark. And so this is where people have been reinfected. You're not, the challenge here with COVID is one, we don't have a whole lot of time because we're just kind of going as we go. I haven't seen any new data that's assessed, do we have antibodies at 6 months? We're into folks being diagnosed in February and March and getting a handle on this. So, or not a handle, but, getting data and details. So that's what we know right now. And if you think you had it in, if you think you had it in, say, December or January, which a lot of people did and weren't aware of it, you might not have any, your immune system might not have any recognition that you had it. So that's one thing. And that's why the antibody, the development of antibodies with some of the vaccines, like the vaccine that I find most potentially impactful is the one that's happening in the Oxford study, AstraZeneca Oxford. That's the UK. UK will be lined up first to get that. Although the Pfizer, and again, I don't have any data. I haven't seen any reports out on it, but the Pfizer trial is 90% effective. That's really big, but how is it effective? Is it developing antibodies? We haven't seen that yet. Okay. Okay. So Kelly says suggestions on how to clean material masks. UV. I have shown the UV lights. There are these UV units. You can sanitize them in there. One of the things, I didn't report it out today, but the New York City EMTs have actually rolled out a 3M respirator. And I'm seeing this also in Minnesota. Some of the imaging of the medical professionals, they're actually wearing 3M respirators that have a much better seal, and then they could just lock down their eyes. And that, they can reuse, and the filtration, you don't have to replace but every year. But as far as us, you can, two things. I recommend the washable kind. We know the extreme heat and soap can kill the virus. It's also better for our environment. I'm starting to see horrible images of animals that are getting, ducks walking around. He's got a mask on, literally it's around his neck. This is problematic. We were out getting family photos over the weekend, and there were masks discarded at this really nice park, and also a park that Gabriel and I were walking at on Sunday. So, that's one thing. If you can go with the cloth, the reusable, it's less expensive. Might be a little bit more money up front, but it's actually better environmentally savvy. And then obviously, like, I'm ordering ones for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you can kind of, like, Gabriel has he has a chipmunk, and he has all these little animals masks. He's obsessed with animals. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Margaret, other than not taking supplements 5 days before back epidurals next Friday, what else should I do to prepare for them? So I'm curious why you're getting epidurals and what's going on. I always go with the doctor's recommendations. I have a pre and post surgical guide that my patients will download. It's a purchasable digital download, but I'm not quite clear on what's going on, so I don't know. Dwayne, hey Dwayne, he says people need to get immune system built up and not depend just on masks. I'm not anti-mask. I wore a shield and mask. I tested positive this week. I think taking vitamins for months kept my severity low. Yes, so absolutely. Your immune response is critical. The challenge here with this virus is that, our immune response is not the only method to address the viral invasion. We have to have multi-layers. It's social distancing, it's masking, protecting your eyes. It is good hygiene practices. It is, staying at home when you can, but also building up your immune system. And I highlighted on Wednesday, a lot of my patients don't have the strongest immune systems. And so that's why I'm constantly talking about all the different things like the medicinal mushrooms on what we spoke about on Wednesday. Okay, so Micah Brown says, thumbs down. Oh, good. All right, thumbs up, folks. If you like this, and please hit share. I appreciate that. Chrissy, hi, doctor. I've noticed that when I wear the mask, I feel lightheaded and I've been getting sick more often. I work at 40,000 feet and I have to wear it during those hours. I now have a terrible cough. So my question would be, what type of mask are you wearing? This is the other thing. A lot of the material masks versus your, cloth and handmade double mask with a filter have materials that can be toxic to you. You might have an allergy. You could have an allergy to the substance that is in there. You could have an allergy to the material itself. And so some people are breaking out in hives and skin rashes. The lightheaded feeling sometimes has to do with the psychological effect of, putting a barrier over your nose and your mouth. I know this from personal experience, scuba diving. I'm not a good scuba diver. I'm PADI certified. I don't like that experience at all. It feels weird when I can look up and my air source is up there and yet I'm like breathing. I always would run my tank out first. And so there's that aspect, Chrissy, but I would definitely want to find out what you're using. I find that when I recommend folks switch to a cloth that you can gently wash. You also want to make sure that what you're washing your clothes in is not going to be sensitive to you, meaning, the deft that you use for baby clothing, you can use to wash your mask in. It's less caustic. Your normal Tide is going to have all these different chemicals that are not good for you, especially when we're having it, you're working, assuming you're up in the and you're in the airline industry. So, that is one factor. The other thing too is if you are dealing with a cough, you might want to use some essential oil. Again, use 2-layer with a filter. I don't have any samples like right here on my table, but I've spoken a lot about the different options, and I think I have some links down below. Okay, so Jenny, help. She says, I must have ingested something recently. I've been itching mostly around my neck. I hope I'm not allergic to roasted dandelion tea. Oh no, what do you recommend to ease itching? Excuse me. Okay. So for any type of inflammation of the skin, two things: aloe, fresh aloe, and then calendula cream. So that is marigold cream, calendula. You're going to find it like at CVS, Walgreens, online, Amazon. There's a cream that has calendula in it. It's great for burns, but it's also good for hives and itchy skin. It's good for, the poison oak, poison ivy, bug bites. Calendula is very soothing and cooling. I would try that. Letitia, she asked, does the flu shot interfere with the COVID vaccine or the swab test? That's an excellent question. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen any interference, but that's a good question. And I'm going to write that down and see if there are anything specific about the flu. COVID. That's an excellent question. I haven't seen anything yet, but again, I'm not entirely sure. Okay, Michelle Healthy Vibes on Instagram. She says, do we know the data on rapid test accuracy? Sort of. Depends on the rapid test. My daughter in Nashville had one last week and was negative, yet she lost her sense of smell and taste. Okay, so if it's in Abbott Labs, they have the worst accuracy points. They actually have more inaccuracies and greater false negatives. The other thing that you're probably going to hear more and more in these states that are really ramping up with high cases is that people, it often will also depend on when you get tested. Let's say you've had exposure to somebody knowingly, you get a notice or you get a call, contact tracer calls you, you've been in contact with somebody. It might be that that's 2 days after the fact of your contact, but maybe it takes you 5 to 7 days for that immune response to then have a rapid test register COVID, but you've got that exposure. So there's several things around it. It could be the time that you're taking the test and then also the test. The PCR testing, the blood testing tends to be more accurate. We know that some of the rapid tests, I've highlighted them here on our show. Some are better than others. Some have a 98% accuracy. And in fact, some of the ones that have come out of necessity, as we've seen in other countries like India and even in Africa, some of them don't even need labs. They're actually paper. They're like pregnancy-related tests. So I've highlighted a few of those. One of the researchers in California, I think it was UC Santa Barbara or UC Irvine? I can't remember, but we have a Nobel Prize winner this year because of the test that she rolled out, and it's highly accurate. So the question that you have to ask is what test. Many people don't know, and so that's one of the issues behind our situation. We have a lot of people that are getting false negatives or are testing, and it's not accurate, which is highly problematic. I mean, that's one of the worst ways to try to get control. Okay, Annette, doctor, how long the smell and taste come back? So how long does it take for that to come back? We're unclear. Some people get it within a month or so. There are others, the long haulers, that still have no taste and smell. A lot of it has to do with your own body's immune response and the inflammatory syndrome that gets kicked off. Ultimately, if you're dealing with the loss of taste and smell and a lot of post-COVID symptoms, you've got to lower your inflammation levels. And so a lot of the anti-inflammatories I've recommended, Inflamex that you can find in my Full Script store, turmeric, ginger, the herbal compound C bumblebee D. There's a link to that with 20% off code. Check that out. That's anti-inflammatory and an immune modulator. I don't get into that content a lot because YouTube has really made that difficult for me to talk about. But that herbal should be definitely at the core of any of the recommendations I have. So definitely do consider that. And I got a really nice note from Scott. You guys probably see Scott a lot on here. He's like, I ordered, my daughter said she'd buy it for me. And that was very sweet. So we have a lot of family members trying to take care of their parents and making sure everybody's good. Yeah, matter is going to be really bad. And one of the things that they environmentalists are recommending for animals, particularly, like if you do have a throwaway mask, cut the, it's like the, what are they called? The 6-packs, where they've got the plastic. You want to cut like all of those. Like in Florida, we really avoid buying those. But when people do, they cut them because when sea life gets, that's stuck around their necks. Okay, Chrissy says she wears a blue surgical mask. Yeah, I would get rid of that. I would totally get rid of that because they actually put like a plastic coating. So it's paper, but on the outside, there's a coating. So more than likely you're dealing with some sort of allergen there. I would switch. I would go with, if your company has a certain requirement on colors, find that. And your company might actually have, some that you can purchase, but I definitely change to a material, double layer, have it where it has an insert. The best, most appropriate fits are going to be, can tie. They'll have 2 ties. You can get really snug and really cinch in your seal. You also want it where it has the metal that you can kind of go right here. Okay. Shannon, she has a question. How do you suggest people, hold on, let's see, where'd it go? Okay. How do you suggest people working vitamin C, D, and zinc supplements into daily schedule? Do they need to be spaced out? C, D, and zinc can be taken together. There's no sort of contraindicators there. C is water soluble. Zinc is going to be one of those ones where it doesn't matter any of the day. The one thing with C, you want to look at your vitamin C. I like ester C that has rose hips. Your ascorbic acid is not the best quality vitamin C. It's cheap, and that's why a lot of companies have that as a product. But food first. You can get zinc and C from food items as well. Same with D. D, you can eat mushrooms. And this is the other little tip. I forgot to highlight this yesterday or Wednesday. But like if you have mushrooms, like you have shiitake, or like I get button mushrooms and portobello, put them in the sun, like clean them and then put them in the sun. They'll absorb vitamin D. So you can really like enhance your mushrooms. It's amazing. Okay, let's see. Holly. Hey, Holly. Is collagen good to take to prevent the virus, and what form is best to consume? So I have not seen any studies specific to collagen. Collagen is more about like the cellular membrane and the structure of our cells. One of the things where it might be beneficial for, and this still remains unseen, is that let's say you have, we know COVID is present, and the cell's receptivity is great in the lungs, the heart tissue, the kidneys, and even we see digestively. Let's say, in 2 or 3 years, as we're assessing all of this after the fact, we might see leaky gut happen from COVID. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying, I'm speculating. A collagen would be beneficial for that. So, colostrum, the Sovereign Labs, that brand that I'm with, that would be honestly more beneficial than a collagen. But I love collagen for a lot of different reasons. It's great for our skin, anti-aging. It keeps us youthful, in our joints. And so, there's that impact where we do know that all of our organs, glands, our soft tissue, there is an impact. What that looks like long-term, we're just not at that point, but, is it like the front line? Does it prevent it? No, it's not in that category. Morobi 2, I was possibly exposed and it's been 6 days. We all wear masks. Any suggestions? Quarantine. If you're I don't know if that's everybody in your family, be wearing masks in your home. This is one of the things too, friends. That CDC, they keep backtracking, going back and forth. I think they're finally done because now there's like the light at the end of the tunnel. They're not going to have the political pressure they had before. And I think it is an attempt to try and make right. They've gone back and highlighted research. I've highlighted to you guys about mask wearing, but one of the things that masks are protective to ourselves. We've known this from research, it's not new data, but they've posted that more recently in the effort to help people realize that even in a home setting, research, decrease of when folks in their homes wear masks and maybe they've been exposed, and even if they haven't, it lowers the transmission rate greatly. And so your greatest exposure is with those in your immediate circle or your pod, they're calling them pods now. So, if you were exposed, I would recommend you grab mine. And by the way, this is free, my free pandemic wellness guide. Grab this. When this gets all wrapped and I actually post it to Instagram, YouTube, you guys have it already, but Instagram, I actually have to add in the notes and the description. It's a download. So it's a free download. You can find it in my Fullscript store. So you do have to register. You do have to put together a patient account. And you know what? That's how you get this. So it's even trade. You register an account, you get my free download. But in that download, I actually have my protocol. It's live and it's accessible to the public if you have a Fullscript account. And so you can download this and it actually lists some of the items that I post in here. So I would do that. I would start your intense regimen. I'm working on my holiday gift guide. I'm very excited. There are going to be a lot of things I've highlighted to you guys already, but there's also going to be things that are going to be new that can be easily purchased and utilized and have in your arsenal for global health and wellness. And so I would do, some sweat therapy. I would do detoxing in terms of just really not intense detoxing, but I start, doing your liver cleansing and you are outside. Okay. So, the good news is you're outside, the risk factor, it's still risky. When we're outside, you just have to be really careful, protect the eyes, and cleanse. A lot of times people aren't, we've gone a little lax. We've been at it for now, 8 months? Brian and I were talking about, we're still alive. We haven't killed each other. Yay. And so, we have to just keep on with this. Yes. Holiday gifts. I'm very excited. I will say that some of the price points are a little higher this year, but a lot of it's at home wellness. That's going to be one of my core areas of focus this year. So, but I'm really excited. One of them is en route to me today. I think they ship it today. But yeah, so the gift guide is going to look totally different. It's going to probably look like my first gift guide. It's not it's not overly produced. I have nobody helping me with it. I'm going to do it here. Still haven't figured out our backdrop because half of our house is in some disarray with our construction, but it will be wonderful. And I'm very excited to highlight those to you guys. So stay tuned. I don't know when I'll be editing and releasing those, but they'll come out. Okay. Jenny says, thank you so much. I love Amazon. I have aloe. Yeah, aloe is great. You can take aloe internally as well. I love aloe. I used it yesterday. I burnt my leg. Hot water. Spilling is not great, but I literally used it immediately. Every 5 minutes, I was putting my fresh aloe on it and totally helped. Okay, Kim has a question. Acai, using frozen acai, but wondering if the powder has enough nutrients. Frozen is always best. A lot of times you get a flash freeze, and so you get more nutrient in frozen vegetables than the powder version. But you just look on your label and see. Reputable brands are very consistent with their quality control, and so it's always batched and checked to make sure that it matches what is said on the back. But frozen's, I like that. Okay, let's see here. Tiffy Flawless, almost a year. Yep, almost a year. It's crazy. Michelle, Healthy Vibes, where can we find the link to the UV lights for mask you recommend? That'll be, so it's on YouTube right now, but that'll be in the description. And in fact, if you go to any of my IGTVs, that's where these live shows get housed. They're in the drop down, or actually you have to click on, there's a little arrow in the corner. Click on that and you'll find the UV lights. Okay, so Camper Life, I suffer from GERD. When not careful in those herbal anti-inflammatories, give me the worst stomach pains. Anything easier on the tummy? So there is, I can't think of the name of the brand. It's like Desert Essentials, I think. They have a liquid. There's a pink and a green bottle. There's a liquid like coating. It has aloe and slippery elm. Slippery elm is great for a lot of the stomach grief. It's very anti-inflammatory, and it may be something you want to take before you take the herbal anti-inflammatories. Annette, thank you. Yes, I'm drinking golden turmeric. Yay. God bless and stay safe. Thank you. Same to you. Stacy, if you are vitamin D deficient, you'll be itchy. You'll be achy at first as you build up your level. That's not always so true, but let's see. Darlene, I heard yesterday it's not necessary to wipe our groceries or items. I still do this. Yeah, so I still wipe everything that comes into the house. We know big droplets can stay on materials, depending on the material, for 3 to 7 days. We put our groceries out in the in the garage. There's like a holding pattern, and then the cracker boxes or whatever that are what is it? They stay out there for a few days. I let it die. I still wipe them down. I am very diligent. You hear of folks that are like, we did everything and we still got sick. So I just, I still wipe down my my mailbox. And now our mail carriers, all of them are wearing masks, which is a whole nother issue. Our mail process here in Georgia has been god awful. So if you've ordered anything from me online that needs to be shipped, I don't know what happened, but we had the feds come into Georgia with the whole election thing, and there were ballots kept and just insane. So I don't know what's happened, but it's just been really slow. But either way, I still wipe down all aspects. I wipe down our mail. I mean, I have a holding pattern with our mail. So unless it's like a note for Gabriel or a card, those are fun ones that are like hand addressed. Okay, so I still wipe down the groceries. I think it's important. Okay, Tiffy Lawless. Oh, best probiotic for yeast infections. Already tried boric acid suppository. So do the boric acid. I'd keep doing that, but I would add in sporadic what is it called? There's a brand in Fullscript that has it's specifically targeted for women. That's really good. Microspore, I think, is the name of it. I'll have to confirm that. Sometimes we have so much stuff, it's hard to remember all the names. Okay, but definitely what I would do is I'd get a female-focused probiotic if you have any, vaginal bacterial imbalances. The other thing is if you haven't gotten a PAP, get a PAP and rule out anything else going on with the cervix. So make sure that it is in fact a yeast infection and not something else. Okay. Daniel, you're awesome. Can I please message prostate health problem? Sure. Let's see. Christine says, thanks for the mushroom tip. You're welcome. I've heard that if they are grown in the dark, then not much D. Yeah. And that's actually a good reason why to put them in the sun. And we actually have a plan where you have to redo our whole kitchen. You guys know I had that flood. I was out of town in February teaching doing lymphatic teaching. I don't remember where I was. I think I was in Raleigh, and Brian freaked out because we had this flood that was like the slow flood that just basically ruined the wood floor and our cabinet, and we had mold and everything. And so we have not completed that project. We haven't even begun that project. So our kitchen's halfway destroyed. I have like a third of our countertop to work with. But we are plotting out our kitchen. And so that's actually moving forward here in the next few weeks. And we're adding more windows. And part of that is I plan on using the windows to put my mushrooms in so they can. We have this wonderful, it's a northeast facing window, or we'll have 2 windows in the kitchen. Actually, we're adding 3 new windows. So I'm going with light, lots of light, bright and light. Okay, so let's see here. Stacy, yes, I've been getting a rash on my face and neck from disposable masks. The cloth ones are really hot for me with hot flashes. Okay, so if you're having hot flashes, I'm going to recommend Effisoy. It's on Amazon. Good stuff. There are some cloth ones that have wicking, that are moisture wicking, and so you might find that beneficial. Just play around with the different types. But yeah, hot flashes and face masks are not great. Raleigh was great. I literally flew in and flew out a lot of times when I do the teaching, because I'm mom life here, and this was back pre-COVID when I had normal functioning practice hours and stuff. Gosh, those were the days. I would fly in and out. And so I think I was there, I think it was like 20 hours or something like that, from like door to door. I miss those times. I miss flying. I miss traveling. I miss my team I used to teach with. They were so fun. We'd go out and eat really healthy dinners. We'd have so much fun. Work out, all the good stuff. Okay, so Dwayne, would you take Botox injections in the throat for vocal tremors? Not a one-time shot, but every 3 months. I'd have to look into that. I know Botox is utilized for a lot of muscle issues. If the vocal tremors are so great and they outweigh the risks of doing Botox is biotoxin. But again, if folks have debilitating headaches, migraines, yes, take it, because it can help improve your life. Vocal tremors are great that you can benefit from. It's you have to weigh it. But is Botox great for superficial reasons? No, but medical. I'm not aware specifically of the details about that, but if it would help, I don't see why it would be bad. You just have to know that there are going to be biotoxins and neurotoxins, and you can do neurodetoxing. So it won't decrease the impact, but it can help your body get rid and detox. Thanks, Michelle. She says, what a to be so innovative. Yes. Luckily, that was the one good thing when we had Gabriel in 2015. I became acutely aware that me being one-to-one was not a financially feasible situation when it took me 5 months to kind of get through postpartum. It was really tough and really hard. And, as an entrepreneur, you're only good as what you're doing. And so I had this YouTube thing, and that's really how I built the online presence. And I have that where a lot of practitioners right now, I have a webinar in December, I'm talking to them about how to do that. So a lot have closed up. I've even seen it in some of the practice that Gabriel, like karate. There's a karate place right next to, not our karate studio, but karate place that literally right next to Trader Joe's. They're gone. Like I had to go get paper for all my printing the other day, and we had to run into Office Depot, and the place is gone. And so there's a lot of companies that have not pivoted. I pivoted well before COVID. I pivoted because of Gabriel. Okay, so let's see. Dr. M, a related question. Is it systemic? Whatever is causing itching, what can I take to flush out? I don't mind being in the bathroom the entire weekend. The emojis. It's hard to say what the itching, it's hard to say if you're dealing with just some sort of allergen. What I would do is I would use aloe externally and internally. So if you've got aloe leaf, scrape that off, put it in water, mix it up, or put it in a smoothie, and you can drink that. Totally healthy. That'll soothe that. I would add in ginger and turmeric and see how you do with that. But you might be dealing with some systemic inflammation, but it's isolated. So something is kind of kicked up there. Also check to see if you've added any iodine or anything else in your diet that might be causing that in that space. Daniel is so nice. He's wishing everybody, you, your family, everyone staying healthy. That's very sweet. Thank you. Nina, hi, how do I follow up with you regarding an order I haven't received? Sent a few emails. Okay, so the big thing is my email is Melissa at Natural Health Resources. So support. Some of my staff have been dealing with hurricanes and lack of connectivity, all that. So, we are kind of dealing with a lot of remote resources. So things have dropped through the cracks. So I want to make sure I'm getting that. So email me directly, please, Nina, and I'll make sure I address that. If it's a digital order, a lot of times spam, if you didn't whitelist us, check your spam inboxes. I think I've eradicated that. A lot of my mail related products or digital products that had like buzzwords like prostate or erectile dysfunction, those spammed. And even COVID is a spam category with Google. Okay, so Roxanne, any recommendations for a severely stuffed up nose? I woke up no taste or smell this morning. Oh man, waiting on COVID. Okay, so it's allergy season. With this change of the season, what I would do would be nasal saline spray. I have a whole lymphatic drainage video, and I have a ton of ear draining videos. These are like million viewed videos. They're highly popular. People are really in on those right now because of all the sinus stuff. So Roxanne, I would look in my YouTube catalog, check for that. So lymphatic facial drainage or lymphatic drainage, I have DIYs. I show you how to do that. Then also, I would do the ear draining. And what I would do is be doing salt gargles and doing a lot of anti-inflammatories. Ginger, turmeric. Ginger is great. It'll get the sinuses moving. If you have any wasabi, add wasabi to your mix. That's cleansing. Curly Coils 49. Can you please give me the name or the spelling of the menopausal herb? Okay. That supplement is called Effisoy, EFFISI, Effisoy. Awesome product. It is a fermented bean. It's not a U.S. GMO bean. It is an Asian genetic, not genetically modified, but the gene type, the type of bean, it's an Asian bean. And it's fermented, and the extract is called Aglamax. I have so many ladies who have had amazing experience. It has maca and dim as well in it. Dim is an estrogen detoxer, which is great because you're going to the dim will pull out estrogen out of the liver. It'll flush it out the digestive process. And then the Aglamax will balance the hormonal imbalances. Maca is going to balance the stress-related imbalances, but maca is also good for estrogen progesterone balance. Usually 2 weeks, give it 2 or 3 weeks, but some folks see it sooner. Just depends on your imbalances. Okay. Oh, Scott's on. Hey, Scott, good morning. I mentioned the email you were mentioning that your daughter had you get the herbal sea bumblebee D. So I'm curious. I want to hear all about it when it comes. Okay. Audrey, Chris, 45. I have 2 fibroids on my uterus and I want to defeat it with raw foods and lots of juicing. I include lots of ginger, turmeric, and green powders, maca, acai powder, eat raw broccoli as well. I actually have a protocol for endometrial imbalances, and I have several videos about fibroids in the uterus. So there's a lot of hormonal imbalance, a lot of stress, and liver detoxing. So I would recommend you check out my YouTube, excuse me, my YouTube channel on that. Where you can get specific content. So definitely check out my channel. Michelle, does dim detox from pure encapsulation do the same thing for menopause? Let me look. I love pure encapsulations. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up my full script store. I'm going to look it up. I don't remember specifically all the items in it, but a lot of times dim specifically, it's derived out of broccoli. Prostate challenges. Dim is great for that because the prostate gland itself becomes the storage center for estrogen. And so a lot of prostate inflammation comes from the cells that are absorbing estrogen. They become inflamed and enlarged. Okay, so let me do full script. Hoping it'll let me tune in. Sometimes when I'm live, it doesn't let me log in. Let me see if I can log in and get that. Okay, I'm going to keep answering and I'll come back to that. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, Audrey, I hope that's helpful. Juicing is great. And you're going to get nutrients, but you got to elevate. So, the first and foremost would be get your hormones in, evaluate your thyroid gland. There's a real big role your thyroid has with regards to endometrial imbalances. So, sorry, I have a little itch going on. I'm definitely having some of the allergy stuff. It's finally cool. This weather's been weird. Okay, let me see if I can log in. Let me log in to Fullscript and get some details on that DIM. DIM's awesome. I love it. I think women, especially that are perimenopause and menopausal, should have DIM in their mix because of how powerful it is. And it also will affect your mood. So as you help detox estrogen, you're going to get some of the estrogen dominance balance. But then also, when we are looking at, it's taken a really long time. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's really scrolling. It's because I'm live. So sometimes it won't let me open up two things. But one of the things when, we're dealing with, precancerous cells or imbalances with regard to limiting our risk for cancer, we really need to get control of our estrogen. DIM enhance. Okay, so I'm in. Let me look. Search. Let's see. DIM. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to look at DIM and see if I can go by brand. DIM Detox. Okay, here we are. DIM Detox has calcium D-glucarate, broccoli sprout concentrate, HMR lignin. Okay, that's really good. Alpha lipoic acid, N-acetyl-L-cysteine, milk thistle, L-methionine, glycine, taurine, cellulose. Okay, has a little silica. Yeah, that's a fantastic product. Yeah, so you're definitely going to be that DIM detox. And by the way, anybody who's interested in this, down below, if you click on, actually, if you sign up for this, you can search everything. So you guys have access to everything. In fact, I'm working on a little list for their healthy, like stocking stuffers and really cute stuff that you can get for friends and loved ones. I'm putting together a list in Fullscript. So stay tuned. I'm working on that. Sheila says we can get pure encapsulations. Yay, that's awesome. Avalon 746 says, is there a vitamin D to vitamin K ratio? No, not specifically. What you're going to find is that there's a certain quantity of K that you're not going to exceed. But this is where I like to separate them, because a lot of people need more D than you need K. A combo, which is very common, you can't increase your D without increasing your K, and you don't want to do that. So I have two. I have one. Let's see, I think I have one. Yeah. So this is what I use. I use Douglas Labs, my vitamin K2, and then MK7. So that's what I take. And it's small dose, 90 mcgs. I will do, I'll do two of these, and they're tiny. They're just like they're kind of same size as the vitamin D capsules that I take. So I separate them specifically because some people need more K and some people need a whole lot more D. So I'm less about that ratio. I'm more about those individual numbers and evaluating where you're at. And this again, when they're the herbs and vitamins are potent, and so you want to make sure that you know your levels of really key critical nutrients. You want to know where you're at with zinc and magnesium, and you can test your glutathione levels, and you can evaluate even CoQ10. So there's a lot of ways to get into your micronutrient profile to understand where your deficiencies, and then support where that is. Guessing is not always effective. Let's see. Can you take FSOA with Hashimoto's? Yes, you can. Actually, the maca is really good because it's an anti-inflammatory as well. It'll calm a lot of the Hashimoto's related issues. How many mcgs of zinc should I take daily? Again, that's one of those things that depends. I like to, when I work with people, I like to, like a question like that, I like to round up what all they're taking. A lot of times people don't realize that they're actually getting a lot of different sources of zinc and magnesium that maybe they're not even aware of. Like some combo supplements will have a zinc. So I want to add all those up Usually 20 to 30 is going to be kind of a good dose, but sometimes people need more depending on what's happening. And in fact, a lot of times, like, early stages, if you're starting to feel like throat issues, swollen lymph nodes, kind of, cold or flu-like symptoms, zinc's the frontliner. And there are versions of zinc. So there's different types of zinc, and that becomes, another one, like zinc picolate is one of my favorites. What you also want to look at is you can have homeopathic zinc. And so, there's a lot of complications when it comes to each. There are different versions of a lot of our nutrients and supplements that we have to be cognizant of. Good morning. What type of vitamins can I take for lymphedema? Lady Nut, I have probably 50 videos related to that. And in fact, I have a digital download if you want to check out my website. It's called naturalhealthresources.com. It's my website. Go to digital protocols. I have a lymph management starter checklist that gets you kicked off on what to take if you are dealing with lymphedema. First and foremost, everybody needs to be on LymphStim that has any lymphatic disorder, swelling, inflammation. So Salome, to get accurate micronutrients profile, is it only through a functional medicine MD? Most of the time. I mean, you get lucky if you have a DO in normal practice that says, hey, I want to run these labs. The problem here, this is where it comes down to money and just the way these practices operate. What I do in my practice with everything, my lymphatic work, even the lymphatic products, the supplies, and my tests, they're considered preventative, and they often are not covered by insurance. So if you're working with a normal general provider, they're not going to run anything that isn't authorized by your insurance. And a lot of times there's contracted, arrangements, and many of the times we don't know what that is. So you have to be prepared for out-of-pocket costs. And there are a ton of labs that they have access to, but most of the time there's also contracted obligations where they can't deviate from some of the labs. So like, last week, a week ago, I had to do a blood draw for my new Emory doctor, and he's obligated by the Emory lab. Emory lab won't run, a lot of my kind of functional medicine kits. So I, would normally go in and be like, can you run these for me? They do the draw. I don't do phlebotomy. I've never had a phlebotomist in my clinic. So somebody has to actually go to a site and get a blood draw. But a lot of times I'll add that in, but they don't. So, there's just a lot of things to be aware of. Excuse me. Okay. Natalie has a question. Have you ever heard of vitamin D increasing phosphorus levels? Not by supplementation, but depending on certain biochemical engagements, it's possible. It depends. Usually there'd be some accompaniment of some sort of diagnosis. So that's a more complicated, got to get a bigger look at what's going on. Okay, I've got more questions. Jen G, what are your thoughts on GABA? Love GABA, calming support, Dr. Amen's supplement for teen who experiences anxiety. So GABA is, GABA is an enzyme, and that enzyme supports a neurotransmitter, GABA. And so you take the enzyme GABA to support your neurotransmitter, GABA. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter that helps us sleep. It calms ADD, ADHD, OCD tendencies. A lot of children and adults have deficiencies with GABA. There's a lot at play when that occurs. There's usually adrenal stress and some other stuff happening. As far as, some of those, like if your teen's dealing with anxiety, I would run a neurotransmitter assessment. So run a test on neurotransmitters. It's usually, I want to say it's a dry urine analysis, like it literally, like you do samples and you put a little test paper in, you let it dry, that gets evaluated. That'll give you dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine. It gives you all of the neurotransmitters, and it gives you an idea of how low they are. Some folks need a lot of GABA if they're, if there's intense anxiety. But yeah, very impactful. I love Dr. Amen. He's amazing. I've met him multiple times at different conferences I've gone to. Sage 1711, what to take for bone spur on foot. So what's going on? Is it painful? Is it inflamed? Is it red? I would do a topical C Bumblebee D. Actually, I pulled out the Octagon Biolabs. That's the brand that I've got listed down below, 20% off there. You guys, they have this amazing eucalyptus lavender balm. It's got 500 or 100 or 500, and there's two versions, 500 or 1,000 milligram dose in the balm. One is great as like a chest salve, so you can, it opens up gently, clears. It's not like Vicks. It's not a menthol, like intense menthol, but it's very calming. But like I rubbed Gabriel's back with that, and he's been having some like knee pain. He's growing. The kid, literally, I just bought him clothes. He's grown out of them. So I got to go back on eBay and get more clothing for him. So, because we do a lot of, at that age, plus all the knees get destroyed. We've got holes on all of the stuff. There's paint on everything. I just buy used. So at any rate, what I was recommending, like that would be good on a bone spur. I have a level 4 and 5 in my clinic store. That's way more intense. Like for Roxanne, that would be really good on your chest as well. Okay. Darlene, thank you. Have a good weekend. Let's see. Pat loves GABA. Has had good results with it. Used it for when the dogs had seizures. Yeah. So GABA plays a big role in our neuroendocrine balance for sure. Let's see. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, I think I've got the direct line for our Comcast guy. I think he just called in. Okay, spelling on DIM. Let's see. So the product with DIM, Ephisoy, E-F-F. Let me spell it down here. E-F-F-I-S-O-Y is the DIM hormone. Oh, I hear a little voice. Hormone supplement. It's so good. Okay. Gabriel might run in here in a minute. We'll see. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So I think I've answered all your questions. I've got to run mommy duties, schooling, calls my name. But I hope you guys found this impactful. Wow, we went over a lot. So if you love this info, please give me a thumbs up. I'm grateful for all of you who spent time with me today. I really appreciate your viewership, your participation, your engagement. You guys encourage me every day to keep up with our information. I know, I report a lot of doom and gloom stuff, but hopefully you take away items and resources that will help you and your family stay healthy and well. That's always my mode of operating here, to equip you all with the resources to get through this, because we are literally in this together. If you haven't done so, make sure you grab my free pandemic wellness guide. And happy Friday, everybody. So I hope you enjoy your Friday. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Get out in nature if you can. Stay grounded. Do things for yourself. Self-care is critical. And later on today, watch me on Instagram. I'm going to be highlighting some of my favorite fall and winter skincare products. So this is one of the new brands I'm going to be talking a little bit about. This oil. Oh my gosh. It's called Beauty Sleep Elixir. Oh, it's awesome. So I'm going to highlight a little bit about that. And then also this awesome eye cream from Alpine Beauty. This, oh my goodness, no wrinkle lines. This stuff's amazing. So anyway, tune in on Instagram. I will post some stories. I might do a reel. So the reels have been fun, keeping it real on reels. So anyway, happy Friday. Stay well, stay safe. Tune in on Monday. And I will be posting a whole bunch of news. Definitely, if you haven't done so, click on the link down below. Get in on that free replay of the lung detox webinar by Dr. Christy. And then also tune in on Thursday on Facebook. I have been invited to be live on Sovereign Labs and their their Facebook page. So I'll be joining them, and we'll be talking about how to survive the rest of 2020. So there's links down below. Follow them on Facebook. There's a special invite list. Click on yes, attend. You'll get in on all the news and updates. And when it goes live on Facebook, you'll get that notification. So thanks, everybody. Be well. And I really, really appreciate all of your time. All right. See you guys later. Bye, everybody. Stay well. Thanks, Pat and Ron. Appreciate all of you. And Rick, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of my YouTube members. Bye, everybody. See you later.